Yeah, thank you. I've been to quite a few Casual Connects, and I always appreciate what a good show Jessica Tams and company put on. I've been covering games for about 20 years, and we do our own conferences. We have our GamesBeat Summit coming up in May, and our larger GamesBeat conference in San Francisco in October. First, we're going to start with Hatch, which is not a new game. It's a new platform, a new business model. Which is very, potentially disruptive for the game industry. And they're going to start with a video.
This is for you, the pioneers, the rookies and the pros, the influencers, the late nighters and the early risers. This is for you, the entertainers, the creative and the curious, and the arcade lovers. This is for you, who want something different, something you haven't seen before, a place to share new experiences, where you can enjoy every game together, where friends meet for a good time at any time, changing the way you play and changing the game forever. This is for you. Hatch, the game changer.
Hey, welcome from my part as well to Casual Connect Berlin. So you got a little snippet what the Hatch experience is all about, but I thought that we start by showing you the real experience doing a live demo so you get a better idea on what the Hatch experience is all about. So what you see here is my phone projected on the screen. And first of all, Hatch will be a streaming service for mobile games. So just like you have an app on your phone for Netflix or Spotify, in a similar fashion you have an app for Hatch. And that's the only thing you need to play games over streaming instantly and on demand. So I start up the app here, and the first thing what you see in Hatch is what we call the live feed. And that's a very important aspect of Hatch, that it's not only bringing the games available on demand over streaming, but it's also making the whole experience much more a shared social experience with your friends. So what you see here is little gameplay videos that we allow the users share from Hatch when they're playing the games easily to this social feed. And like in any social networking app, you can easily like these posts. You can add comments to the post to your friends. You can even share these snippets of videos to any other social media or email to your friends. So from the very get-go, Hatch is built around the social elements of gameplay. We really want to bring people together over the games they love and let them play games in a very new ways, what you haven't been able to do in mobile before. The next thing, moving right, is the recent section. It's basically all my games I've been playing on Hatch. And since all the games are running on the cloud, nothing gets downloaded to your device. There's no limit how many games you can be playing simultaneously on Hatch. So you can jump into any of these games anytime and continue where you left it. And that's, of course, super fascinating notion that no longer you need to be tied to the storage limitations of your phone, but you can actually have unlimited collection of games you can access on demand, instantly, online, anytime. And then for discovering new games, we have a couple of sections here. There's the trending section, where we feature the latest additions, the best performing games in the service. Then there are a couple of category-based rooms, like adventure games, action games, arcade games, and so forth. And all the games you see here are actually already signed up for the launch. So we came out with a press release yesterday announcing we already have more than 50 partners on board and more than 90 titles now lined up for the start of the service, which is happening still this spring. And then when you find a game what you want to try, Let's, for example, take, well, I love Badland from our friends from Frogmind. So you go to the game details screen, you see a description of the game, you see that, okay, 15 of my friends have been playing this game. You can also see that how many of my friends have been having fun with Badland before, and you can even see what my friends have been posting from this very game. So it's kind of an instant social validation of the games you might want to try. So when you see that, okay, 15 of my friends say this is a great game, and so many of them are already playing it, I might want to give a try to this game. And you just press play, and in the free model, we now show a video pre-roll, an interstitial, and that's the way to monetize the games for the mass market, by advertising. And these video interstitials are skippable, so I can skip the game and get to the game. And this is really as easy as any other streaming service. So you don't need to wait for the games to download. You don't need to install anything. You don't need to have any worries on the updates and so forth. So it's just press play to play. So that kind of gives you an idea what the Hatch experience is all about. So maybe we can now dive into a bit more the discussion part.
Yeah. So it seems to have this foundational layer of using the cloud, and you're applying the cloud to mobile gaming. I wonder what kind of decisions you folks made, in like what parts of cloud technology you wanted to take advantage of, but maybe we zero in on just one feature, like multiplayer, single-player games are now possible with this, right? This is one of the choices you've prioritized.
So in terms of like, we didn't really start this from a technology point of view. We didn't come up with a technology and try to find a use case for that. We started thinking like where the industry is going next, and like Wilhelm just said, like before that, we see that the mobile industry, mobile gaming industry, we see it as it's not growing that strong as it used to grow like a few years ago. So we started to thinking like ways to expand the market and bring more possibilities to the developers. So that's where everything started. So we wanted to find a concept that would basically leverage the current mobile gaming platforms out there, but basically like improve them. So like that was the start, and then we identified few key things that we would like to fix in mobile gaming, and one was that we really wanted to make it very easy for people to start and access games. So we came up with this instant play concept that it's pretty much like watching a video on Netflix, so that you can start playing any game just by pressing play, like Vesa said, and that was one of the most important features we wanted to enable. And for that one, we then needed to really push the boundaries and like really innovate on the cloud tech. This is not like we have seen that the cloud has become like quite an important part in many different domains, and the people are talking about the cloudification. People are talking about like, okay, let's make this the cloud, etc. But this wasn't really that easy, actually. That this is not simply taking existing cloud concepts and applying them to gaming space. This is a completely
sort of like taking Netflix into gaming seems like the simple idea, right? But you think it's more complicated than that, I guess? Or?
Yeah. So the idea, it sounds simple. Like, let's make Netflix for games, and that's it. Then, like, the devil is in the details. How do you actually make it? The use case is much more demanding than what video or audio streaming is, because you need to have like two-way connection. You need to have like interactive traffic going all the time, and you need to have very low latency. So like we actually had to implement our own technology for streaming. It's very unique, and it's the only streaming technology on this planet that provides you 60 FPS performance with very low bandwidth. So you can play games even over 4G connections, and so we had to develop lots of software as well, but also like there's been lots of innovation in cloud space and in hardware space as well, that the existing cloud solutions are not really useful or are not really like proper for our use case.
And how about that single player experience that can now become multiplayer, I guess? This is a new concept in games, right?
Yeah. So the instant play was one of the concepts like we wanted to make happen with the service, but then the other one was to really like make the service very social, so that people could play together with their friends. And with Hats, like you can play every game together with your friends. Even the single player games, you can share the session with you. Would you like to continue on that one?
Yeah, you can think an example that I think everybody here has been playing Monument Valley, which is one of the titles for the launch for Hatch as well. So any puzzle game like Monument Valley, think about if you're getting stuck on a level that you don't know, how do I now proceed? What's the thing I need to do next to get forward? In such a situation in Hatch, you can invite your friend to join you in the very same game. I can invite Juhani to join my Monument game session, and when he's joining, we basically stream the same game screen for both my screen and his screen. And then I can pass on the controls to Juhani, and he's more experienced Monument Valley player than I am, so he can show me how to actually pass the level, and I can watch in real time what he's doing, and then again he can pass back the controls to me, and I can continue to playing from the next level onwards. So super fun, super exciting thing, and that's what we believe games should be all about. It's about having fun together with people that matter. And we want to bring that fun back to mobile games by allowing this kind of shared single-player experiences to any game in Hatch. And it doesn't need to be only 2 people joining the session. We can already stream the same game screen up to 16 players from the same game instance simultaneously. So think about that, for example, you can become an esports broadcaster, that you can invite your friends to join your gameplay stream in real time, and you can show them how to master a game, a racing game, for example.
And that's how this becomes a platform for influencers, I guess. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, very cool.
So totally new features, which is now enabled by cloud gaming technologies, what wouldn't be possible with the other models we have today.
Yeah, can I add on that one? Like, I used to play a lot like when I was younger, and like we really played together with the friends and the family all together, and like that really hasn't happened that much in mobile. So that like we see that many people are playing, but they're pretty much playing alone. They are not really playing with their friends and the loved ones. And like in particular, like I feel like this is very important, that the gaming can be a medium for human interaction, and that you can actually do something do something with your family. If you have kids, for example, you can play with them. If you are traveling, you can still have some meaningful interaction with your kids, for example. And like because in Hats, like everything is 100% synchronous. All the multiplayer games are 100% synchronous. All the audio is 100% synchronous. It means that you can be even in the same room, and you can have audio on in every device. Let's say like you can have like 16 devices in the same room, audio on, and the audio is still synchronized. It's completely 100% synchronized, so that it makes it possible to play in the same space. And that's
like the party mode.
It's like a party mode, and that gives new opportunities to really spend time together. For example, like you can sit on the living room or on a dining table and play together with your kids. So it's a new way of playing.
Now, let's go back into the technology a little bit. You know, the early cloud gaming companies like OnLive, they would render everything in the cloud, and they would stream video down to the players. They tried to do this at 60 frames a second, and generally failed. And so it sort of seemed like a great idea that needed 5G services at the time, and so it just didn't work. And a lot of the cloud gaming companies failed on that particular structure, I guess, or of their technology. But you guys are approaching this differently. Right?
Yeah. So like, there's been lots of companies trying to make cloud streaming possibility, and like lots of investment has been put to these companies. But like all the companies, they basically chose the video-based streaming technology as the basis for their service, and it has very fundamental problems. First of all, like just the inherent latency of that architecture is it's very long, because basically you need to render the game first on the server side, then you need to compress that to video, then you need to deliver that video to your end user terminal some way, which requires a lot of bandwidth, and then you need to decompress the video, and then you need to render it on that terminal again. So like there are many steps, and all those steps like introduce extra latency to the experience. So like even with the best connections, even with the best hardware, even with like the best software out there, it's still something that's not very practical. So like we chose a completely new approach for the streaming, that instead of streaming video, we are streaming rendering commands, and what that means is that the HAT streaming is very low latency. We can already start rendering the frame on user's mobile phone while the server is still working on the same frame, and there are no like extra steps. There's no video compression, there's no decompression, so like much less latency on that one. And also like it's much more cost effective because you don't need to have very expensive cloud hardware for the video compression. So like
using the computing that's on the mobile phone.
It's workable on mobile phone. It works over 4G connections. We see 5G is very optimal, of course, for this this use case. But like unlike the competition, unlike the video-based streaming, we are the only one who can do this on mobile, and we are the only one who can do this on 60 FPS. So it's quite something.
And then you get other interesting features that come from this base capability too, like playable ads is another interesting new sort of feature. Talk about that something.
Yeah, so I already showed you some of the social features, which we think will be super exciting for the users. If you think about games today, it's very tough for you to share the fun with your friends or share your best moments in the games. We make that very intuitive and simple, that every time you're playing a game on Hatch, we are always basically recording the last 30 seconds of your gameplay in the background without you to need to initiate it. So whenever you do something fun, you beat the boss or you pass a level, you can always click the share a video feature and you can access the last 30 seconds of your gameplay. And we give a very easy editing tools for the video, so you can crop the video, you can trim it, you can even add comments, you can draw on top of the video, and then off you go. You can share it to the live stream on Hatch. And as I showed earlier, then from the live stream you can even further share it to Facebook, to any other social media. So we believe this kind of social behavior that we enable and make it very easy for people can really trigger a new way of playing games to make it much more a shared experience. And that's really what we think that will bring back the fun to gaming. So these social features have been from the beginning in the really core of our whole design process, because we also believe that the more fun the experience is, the more shared these features can be between you and your friends and your network of fellow gamers, the more viral the service can also go. And that, of course, will be something we believe that can unleash a lot of excitement in the industry when we actually allow people to come together over the games they love and start playing those games together in completely new ways.
And there's other companies out there, like I read about OneApp.com, which has an interesting approach of using the same sort of cloud streaming technology to do ads for games where they're just sharing a link, right? And they share a link, and somebody could share that link on Twitter, and that goes straight into a gaming experience, an instant playable game.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and they're using the cloud for that.
Yeah.
They are doing something different in that they don't have an app, though, right? And you guys do have an app. And it seems like one interesting difference there is that you have more retention possibilities, right? I mean, people know how to get back to your experience just by hitting the app on their.
Actually, like it's quite different. Like the playable ads, like they don't usually have, first of all, like good enough performance for like real gaming. So like you can maybe try it a little bit, but it doesn't give you the frame rate or the experience you really need. For us, like everything happens in one application. So everything happens inside Hatch app. So there are no extra downloads. There's nothing you need to install on top. So only you need to have just the Hatch. So it's very easy to use, and that enables us to do very clever things that haven't been possible like before. Like for example, like thinking of multiplayer games or thinking of matchmaking. We in Hatch can basically do matchmaking over the people automatically. They don't need to be in a certain game. They don't need to be waiting in a lobby. We just know that these users are like available in Hatch, and we can send them the notifications when the game session starts, and they can swipe the notification, and they will be in the game. So it's a completely different story. Imagine like if you want. Let's say like I want to play with Vesa some game he doesn't have. First I need to somehow call him or send him a message that can you go and download that game and please go inside the game, go to that lobby and wait me or find my nickname there. With the hats, I don't need any of that. I just can like start game and invite Vesa there, and Vesa doesn't need to install that game. He never needed to play the game. He doesn't need to wait in a lobby. So like the Hatch makes making a multiplayer session much easier, and that way I believe that also like the whole social playing in mobile will be quite different, because we enable it in a completely new way, and that's a very interesting opportunity for the developers.
So you have 50 partners here, as you know, game partners and 90 games, right?
Yeah.
So you've been very successful so far at recruiting companies to join Hatch, right?
Maybe I can comment. So I'm kind of looking after this game collection, and we basically started to reach out to prospective content partners pretty much exactly 1 year ago. And boy, what a year it has been for my team and myself. So we've been meeting basically all the legendary game companies on this planet during the last 12 months, having so many great meetings, discussions, and it's been, first of all, amazing to see that how positive the response have been. So many of them have been saying that, you know, finally somebody is now doing this and makes great games available to the mass market in a very easy fashion. So that's the starting point. Of course, we haven't gotten everybody to come on board yet, but nevertheless, every person we've been meeting have been only giving positive feedback and encouragement for our mission. So I really kind of feel that the whole industry is backing us to try to succeed what we started here. And then of course we're just about getting started here. So these 50 partners, 90 games is of course a great starting point for our beta phase, what we're just about to start very shortly. But of course we keep doing the game sourcing process to get more of those kind of games into the catalog. And of course, this is a totally virgin ground. Nobody's done this before, so we can only guess now that, you know, what actually will be the best performing games when you make those available on demand. But we have a really rich and a lot of variety in our existing collection already, because we target to really serve all kinds of players out there with different types of games. And also when it comes to the size of the catalog, so we are starting now roughly with 100 titles, but then of course we will be seeing when we start the real testing that when all the games are available on demand, how many games actually people start playing in parallel, and then we also understand better that how big is the optimal size of the collection for the long term.
And you spun out of Rovio, and you have this or subscription game model, I guess. And I guess you have to decide, how much to charge per month, and how many games should be available during that month to those subscribers too, right? So.
Yeah,
Interesting to bring premium games back into mobile games, right?
Yeah, and just adding to the Vesa's point that we have been telling about this concept and the product to many game developers out there, and we found it quite interesting that there are many game developers that are actually struggling in free-to-play economics. I personally have a very long and strong background in free-to-play game development. I started developing my first free-to-play game already 15 years ago, and it's a good model for some games. It works, but there are also lots of gaming genres and gaming types and playing types that are not really working that well with the free-to-play because it kind of forces a certain game loop design. So what we found out was that the developers actually loved us because they see Hatch as a new way of bringing back that diversity in gaming and bringing back games that are truly fun to play. And that's why we have had quite much success, for example, in Japan. That's very traditional gaming market with lots of strong IPs, and many Japanese companies, they see it as a very relevant way for them to come again or come to the mobile for the first time because they have never been that successful in free-to-play economics, but they make really great games that are
gamers,
really fun to play.
They also have sort of adopted some of these new models, like I think KDDI had a Netflix of games like service as well that they charged a fee for, right?
Yeah. So it's a familiar model for them, and they are very readily supporting us, and that's I find myself very very nice because we have lots of games from Japan on board and lots of great IPs. We have Space Invaders. We have Pac-Man, so those are the games I used to play when I was young, and I'm very happy now them to be part of Hats as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you have to get more exclusives or some particular games that will be the big draw for people who have to think about whether they want to subscribe or not?
So of course, you need to have hero titles. You need to have key games. That arouse interest, and we have a very strong portfolio, and we wanted to have a balanced portfolio so that we have different games for different kinds of audiences, and also the audiences that do not find games from free-to-play domain. So do you want to add something on that one?
Yeah, so if you think how Netflix is driving their success, it's pretty much been based also on these original productions, like having exclusive content available only on Netflix. And we will be partly adopting the same model that, of course, to start with, all the games on Hatch have a different experience than what you have today, because all those games, like explained, can be now played together. It's a totally new way of playing the existing games. But then, of course, we already have multiple projects ongoing when some of the game studios have wanted to develop an exclusive version of their game for Hatch specifically to tap on some of these new social features we only can offer. And then in addition to this kind of translating some of the existing games for Hatch, we also have a number of totally new game productions ongoing we call Hatch Originals, which are new social multiplayer games tailor-made for the Hatch experience to fully take use of these playing together elements and features to really allow people in full have fun together with their friends taking use of our platform capabilities.
So I finish with just what's the hardest thing about executing on this idea?
So we started concepting this a few years ago, and at the time I started thinking what would be the next thing in gaming, what would be the next big thing there, and we came up with this concept instant play and playing together. Then the real challenge comes when you really need to combine state-of-the-art technology, that you really need to innovate a lot. You need to develop your own technology to make this possible, and also like you need to find the right partners, because we are using cloud tech no one else is using yet. So it's not just that you do your work, like you also need to change the industry around you. And then like the tech is one thing. The second thing is about like the developers, that you need to educate them. You need to make them understand that this is a new opportunity. This is a better opportunity for many developers out there. And also like what we are basically like demonstrating with the Hatch Originals is that making multiplayer games for Hatch platform is actually much cheaper and easier than making multiplayer games otherwise. And those are the benefits from the technology platform we have, but that's what we are demonstrating with the Hatch Originals. And then the third thing is that you also need to get the consumers, so that you need to educate them on like what the playing and gaming could be like in the future. And now like, of course, like I think that the Hatch is actually more natural way of playing, because it's just more simpler way of playing. Like you don't need to install and download any application, so it's easier to use, which we think like is going to expand also the audience available for gaming, and that way help to also like grow the mobile industry further. And those three things basically doing all at the same time, while being very aggressive in also like pushing the industry forward, like and changing the things around us. So, like it's quite difficult thing to pull off, but I'm very happy that we already have the technology in place. We have partners on that area, so that our service is up and running. We are very happy with the performance. Then also like we have key developers on board, like who we wanted to be our launch partners. And then also like now it's very easy to demonstrate to the public like what this new experience is like, because once you start playing with the Hatch, it's quite hard to think going back in time where you actually needed to download and install games.
Who would have thought Angry Birds would bring us this? So, does anybody have any questions in the audience?
So I have a question about the business model for, you've got 100 titles up there. You must take some sort of vig off the top for your sort of commission. Is it then divided by 100, or is it integrated based on the amount of time that people play a game? So if there's 100 titles, some titles will get played more than others. Does that developer get more stake of revenue, and how much do you take off the top?
Yeah, we actually put in place a very straightforward and simple business model for the developer partners. So on quarterly basis, we are pooling all the revenues we get from advertising or from the paid subscriptions into one pool. And then we divide 70-30 in favor of the developers, the net revenue out of that pot. And the split happens based on the gameplay minutes for each game. So we think that's the fair model, that the better your game, the more people are playing it, the more money you will be making. So it's a time-based splitting of the revenues on quarterly basis. And at least so far, we've been kind of receiving very kind of positive reaction from the developers, because it kind of gives the right incentive for them as well to bring their best work to Hatch to monetize maximally.
Thank you, guys. Very interesting. I have one question regarding your technology. So you said you're using some kind of cloud technology, and the question is, have you did something new, or you're just using existing stuff and which is already available in the market?
Yeah, so a very good question. Like, we have actually like very long background in cloud tech. Like, my team like used to build Rovio's cloud platform that has scaled up to 260 million users. We also built our own advertisement platform for games. All Rovio games are using that platform, and also been doing some other very high-tech and cloud-related services. The Hatch is not like some other cloud service. So we are not a typical cloud service you can implement with the REST APIs and LAMP stack or something like that. We have very unique technology, what we have built in-house. So everything like related to streaming, we have built ourselves, and also like we are using quite different ways to process data on the cloud side. So it's it's not request response model. It's more like computing things continuously on the server side, and you don't have really affordable and like existing solutions that would match the needs. So like we actually had to work with our hardware partners. We had to work with also like the software and the orchestration partners, so that we basically have very unique hardware stack and very unique software stack as well. That's not comparable to the existing cloud stacks or the cloud techs.
And if I may add one point from the developer's perspective, so this is super simple for our developer partners because we are running all the games in our cloud servers based on Android. And if you have already an existing binary version of your game on Android, we can run with that. So the developer doesn't need to add any new SDK or support any new APIs. We can take your existing Android binary of the game and we do all the rest. So it's basically a no investment route to new business opportunity for the developers who have existing premium mobile games running on Android. And that, from the very beginning, we set as a very important goal, because at the very same minute, if you need to ask the developers to start building a specific version for Hatch and maintaining a separate branch of your software, it's going to be really, really tough to get them on board. So that's why we're super happy that we were able to develop a model that we can take an existing Android builds and we can just wrap them and take care of the streaming technology, and that's of course very easy for the developer. Also, if you think about in the long term, the developer only needs to support one version of the game on Android for Hatch, and we take care of porting the application, the Hatch app, for multiple different platforms. So we start from Android, we of course will bring it to iOS or any platform that makes commercial sense. But we always run the games on top of the Android in the cloud.
Hi. You guys talked about a lot of things, so I have a lot of questions, but I'll try to keep a simple one. You were talking about the multiplayer option. So in the multiplayer option, you guys are referring to two things. One, that you can start and I can bring you in to play. But what about when you play against each other?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. Like how do we make multiplayer in Hatch? Hatch platform provides very distinct advantages to like making multiplayer games. So, like traditionally, if you want to make a multiplayer games, I have been doing myself quite a few. You have to have very like complicated network protocol to synchronize between the states of like different like sessions, because every mobile phone or PC runs its own version of the game, own session. Since in Hatch, like we run games on the server side, we just have basically one session there. So implementing a multiplayer games is as easy as implementing a game with a multiple controller support. And that means that you don't need to know anything about network programming. You don't actually need to know anything about current state-of-the-art multiplayer programming. You can pretty much make a game that supports multiple controllers and give it a go, and it just works. Then like we have options to have either shared screen or then like a different screen for like every user, but basics are still the same. That Hatch makes making real multiplayer games much easier, and those can be co-op games. They can be like of course like person versus person games, or they can be even massively multiplayer games. So like we support all different ways.
So good. Thank you very much, Vesa and Juhani.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Round of
Thank you very
applause.
much.
Thank you.